Today, we are diving into a super common problem, those little decorating mistakes that somehow make your living room feel, well, small. We're gonna break down 7 of the biggest offenders and, more importantly, give you the simple fixes to totally transform your space. You know that feeling, right? You stand in your living room, you look around, and you just know something isn't working. Maybe it feels cramped, or a little dark, or just clunky. Well, you are definitely not alone. And the good news is, it's usually just a few small things that once you see them, you can't unsee them. So let's get started with the absolute foundation of good design. First up, let's talk about the bedrock of it all, scale and proportion. This is, simply put, making sure the size of your stuff actually fits the size of your room. It sounds so basic, I know, but trust me, this is probably the #1 place people get tripped up. And that brings us to the classic culprit, the giant, overstuffed sofa. Look, we all dream of a massive couch we can get lost in. But in a small room, it's a space killer. It just eats up the entire room, blocks walkways, and makes everything else look tiny. The fix? It's all about choosing furniture that's properly scaled. A slightly smaller sofa, one with cleaner lines or visible legs, instantly creates breathing room and allows your other awesome pieces like a cool armchair to actually get noticed. Okay, now let's look down at the floor. The tiny rug, I call this the postage stamp rug. You know, it's that little rectangle floating all by itself in the middle of the room. Instead of pulling your furniture together, it actually separates everything, making the whole space feel disjointed and way smaller than it really is. So here's the simple, totally game-changing fix. It's called the front legs on rule. Your area rug needs to be big enough so that at a minimum, the front legs of your sofa and any chairs can sit comfortably on it. That's it. This one move magically anchors your entire seating arrangement, creates a unified zone, and makes the room feel so much more pulled together and expansive. All right, moving on to section 2, atmosphere. Now we're getting into the really fun stuff, the magic of light and color. These are easily the 2 most powerful tools you have for completely changing how big or small a room feels. Think about it, your walls are the biggest surface in the room. And dark, heavy colors, as much as we might love them for a dramatic vibe, literally absorb light. They can make the walls feel like they're closing in on you. For a smaller space, the smartest move is to embrace light neutral tones. We're talking whites, soft grays, light beiges. They do the opposite. They reflect light all around, creating this airy, open feeling that tricks your eye into thinking the space is much bigger. Now, if you're a little nervous about picking colors, here is a fantastic pro tip for you, the 70-20-10 rule. It's a foolproof formula. So 70% of your room should be your main dominant color. That's usually your light wall color. 20% is your secondary color, maybe for your sofa or a big piece of furniture. And that last 10%, that's where you have fun. It's your pop of accent color in things like pillows, artwork, or other accessories. And remember, color isn't just about making a room look bigger, it's about how it makes you feel. You know, certain blues can feel really calming and serene. Yellow often brings a cheerful, social energy, and green can make us feel connected to nature. So choosing the right color is also about setting the right mood. Okay, let's talk lighting. You know the biggest mistake we see pretty much everywhere? It's what designers call the single boob light, that one lonely fixture right in the center of the ceiling. It creates a harsh spotlight in the middle of the room and leaves all the corners in shadow, which, you guessed it, makes the room feel smaller. So the professional solution is to layer your light. Think in 3s. First, you have your ambient light. That's your overall lighting, like that ceiling fixture. Then you add task lighting. That's focused light for doing stuff, like a reading lamp next to your favorite chair. And finally, you add accent lighting to highlight things you love, like a spotlight on a piece of art. This combo gets rid of all those dark corners and adds so much warmth and depth. And hey, don't forget about the best light source of all, and it's free: daylight. To make the most of it, swap out any heavy, dark drapes for lightweight or sheer curtains. And here is a classic designer trick. Hang a big mirror directly opposite a window. It'll grab all that beautiful natural light and just bounce it all over the room. It's amazing what a difference that makes. Okay, we've tackled scale, light, and color. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of layout. This is all about the physical arrangement of your room, how you move through it, and how it actually works for you every day. So I want you to do a quick mental check of your living room right now. Is every single piece of furniture, the sofa, the chairs, the tables, shoved up tight against the walls? It's a really common instinct, especially in a small room. We think we're creating more open space in the middle, but it can actually make a room feel static and, weirdly, smaller.
The fix is a simple technique called floating your furniture. And no, I don't mean you have to have it in the middle of the room. Just pulling your sofa even a few inches away from the wall creates a little bit of breathing room. It creates shadows and a sense of depth that tricks the eye into seeing a more spacious, more thoughtfully designed room. It sounds crazy, but it works.
Now, beyond where the furniture sits, you've got to think about how you walk around it. If you're constantly having to squeeze past the coffee table or sidestep a chair, the room just feels cluttered and poorly planned. You need clear pathways for good flow. It's not just about function. It makes the room feel way more peaceful. So what's the magic number? Well, most designers will tell you to leave about 75 centimeters, or for those of us who think in inches, that's roughly 30 inches, for your main walkways. That's enough space to walk comfortably without feeling like you're in an obstacle course. And every great room needs a star of the show. It needs a focal point. This is the very first thing that grabs your attention when you walk in. It could be a fireplace, a big, beautiful window, or a fantastic piece of art. Without a clear focal point, your eyes just wander around aimlessly, and the room can feel really chaotic and unsettled. We are in the home stretch. We've covered all the big foundational pieces. So now let's talk about the details. Those little finishing touches that can either bring the whole room together or, well, accidentally undo all of our hard work. Oh man, this one is so easy to fall into. The trap of too much small stuff. You know, a dozen tiny picture frames, little collections of knickknacks scattered on every surface. Instead of adding personality, all it does is create visual clutter or noise. It makes a room feel busy and disorganized because your eye literally has no place to rest. The solution here is all about decorating with intention. I absolutely love this quote. Prioritize decoration with emotional or functional value. So instead of 10 tiny things, choose one larger, more impactful piece of art. Instead of things scattered everywhere, group smaller items together on a decorative tray. The key is to edit. Less is almost always more. And since we already established that mirrors are a small room's best friend, here is one last pro rule to make sure you get it right every time. It's the 2/3 rule. When you hang a mirror over a piece of furniture, like a sofa or a console table, you want the mirror to be about 2/3 the width of the furniture below it. It just creates this perfect visual balance that feels so right. So let's do a super quick recap of the 4 big ideas. 1. Get the scale right for your room. 2. Lighten and brighten with your colors and lighting. 3. Create flow by pulling furniture off the walls and clearing your pathways. And 4. Decorate with intention. Curate your things, don't just clutter. So after all that, I'm gonna leave you with a final question to think about. Looking at your own living room, what's the one small change you could make today that would have the biggest impact? Thanks so much for watching.